If you're looking at homes between $700,000 and $900,000 in Houston, you're not asking if Houston is affordable. You're asking something much heavier. You're asking, if I deploy this level of capital right now, am I making a smart move or an expensive mistake? Houston's median home price finished 2025 at $334,990, flat year over year. The MLS HAR press release of January 2026 says the average price was $426,558, and that was only up 0.9%. That's not a surge, that's not a collapse, that's stabilization. And stabilization makes strategic buyers uneasy because when markets are crashing, the answer feels obvious. When markets are booming, the energy feels obvious. But when markets are balanced, you have to think, and thinking at $800,000 feels heavy, y'all. If we haven't met yet, my name is Armando Espinosa. I work with families and professionals making serious capital decisions inside Houston's premium neighborhoods. Most of the conversations I'm having right now at this tier don't sound like, can we afford it? They sound like, are we early? Are we late? Is Houston peaking? What if we buy and regret it? What if we wait and regret it more? That tension is real, y'all. And we're going to sit in it today, not emotionally, but structurally. Let's start with the part most people skip, the psychological battle. Because the $300,000 buyer and the $800,000 buyer are not fighting the same internal battle. The $300,000 buyer worries about qualification, the $800,000 buyer worries about timing. You walk through the home priced at $820,000, it checks all the boxes, the school zoning works, a lot works, the layout works, and one spouse says quietly, "This is the one, y'all." The other one says, "Let's slow down, let's slow it down." That sounds like one of you is momentum and the other one is protection. And then the internal voice starts whispering, "What if this is the top?" So you pull up the data. Houston inventory expanded to 4.5 months in December. It even peaked at 5.5 months mid year, the highest level since 2012. So you think more inventory means leverage, and you're right. But here's the piece that rarely gets internalized: luxury between $500,000 to $999,000 increased 13.4% year over year in December. That's your segment. That's not stagnation, that's absorption. Your tier is active, so now the fear shifts. And it's not about affordability, it's about regret. You don't want to be the buyer who bought at the top, but you also don't want to be the buyer who waited while leverage existed and watched it compress, because that happens quietly, not dramatically. Now let's layer something else in: migration. Chicago, Los Angeles, New York are among the top US cities searching Houston homes right now. Global search activity from China, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, and India continues. And this is coming from the newsroom of HER.com, the global side of February 2026. That's inbound attention, inbound capital. When you're relocating from a coastal market where $1.5 million buys what $850,000 buys here, you don't feel relief first. You feel suspicion. You stand in a $4,000 square foot Houston home priced at $845,000. You smile, then you think, why is it cheaper? That sounds like you're waiting for the hidden flaw. But structurally, Houston's median price point is still $334,990. Premium Houston trades at a relative discount compared to many executive markets. That discount creates doubt, but also creates positioning opportunity. That's where clarity matters right now. So let's zoom in further. The weekly activity in early 2026 shows oscillation. Week two, new listings were up 14.8%, pending listings down 13.4%, showings up 10.4%. That looks like softening. But oscillation is not collapse. Oscillation is recalibration. It's a market breathing, and breathing markets create negotiation windows for sure. When markets compress, those windows close. Now consider the rental floor. Single family leases were up 9.4% year over year. And this is the rental market update from HER.com. Average lease price stayed flat at $2,245. That's stability. Rental strength provides structural support underneath ownership pricing. If rent demand is strong and stable, ownership doesn't free fall. It normalizes. So you might tell yourself, we'll just rent another year. That sounds like optionality to me. But waiting isn't neutral. Waiting is a decision, and decisions have a cost. I've seen two versions of this story. So you have buyer A moves in a balanced market, inventory expanded, luxury active, negotiation possible. They close at $775,000. You have buyer B waits for more clarity, rates ease a little bit, demand strengthen, luxury absorption increases. They close at $815,000. Both are smart. Only one preserved leverage. That's the tension you're sitting in right now. Now let's talk about schools. At $800,000, school zoning becomes identity. You tell yourself, this is for the kids, y'all. So Texas introduced the Education Savings Account Program. Flexibility entered the system. When flexibility increases, rigidity decreases. And sometimes buyers stretch tens of thousands of dollars over boundary lines because they assume there's no alternative. Policy shift changes that right now. And when assumptions change, pricing pressure redistributes. Not immediately, though, but structurally. Let's run the worst case scenario honestly. So you buy at $800,000, market softens at 2%, you lose $16,000 on paper, I might add, but you secured the school, the commute, the space, the lifestyle. Now flip it. You wait to buy. Rates ease up a little bit, luxury tightens, migration continues. So you re enter the market at $830,000. Which regret weighs heavier? And that's not emotional, that's capital logic. Houston sold 88,634 single family homes in 2025, and that's up 3.8%. And that's not retreat, this is absorption. Inventory normalized, luxury active, rental stable, migration steady. This is not a panic market, it's a positioning market. If you're serious about buying between $700,000 to $900,000 in Houston right now, you do not need hype. You need clarity. You need to understand your corridor, your absorption rate, your leverage window, your downside exposure, your migration pressure. And you cannot get that from headlines alone. You get that from modeling. That's why I offer structured strategy sessions. We don't guess, we map, we stress test scenarios, we evaluate leverage while it exists. If you're deploying $750,000, that's the level of seriousness required. Houston isn't cheap anymore, but in this executive tier, it's still strategic. The only question is, will you move while leverage exists or wait until it compresses? The link is below. Let's build this soon correctly. Talk soon.